Greetings and welcome. How are we all feeling today? We all know life can get difficult. We all know that we struggle to manage the things that happen in life. We struggle to manage our emotions. We struggle to manage how we think, how we feel, how we view things. And because of that, we cope to survive instead of coping to thrive. See, when we cope to survive, we're not actually coping. We're not actually getting better. Most of the time, coping to survive is using unhealthy and addictive coping mechanisms that just devalue and destroy your life even further. So it's important that you incorporate healthy coping mechanisms in your everyday life so that you get that emotional release or that mental release or that physical ability to just relax, because life is really tough and we all struggle, and it's easier to just find instant gratification instead of working on what you're feeling. Instead of numbing it, work through it. Do something creative, do some gardening, cope in a healthy way. And this could mean having hobbies. The way you speak to yourself when you are in a difficult situation is also another thing, because we are so self-critical that we do not cope with our own inner critic, and that creates a lot of problems. We need to cope to thrive, to do well, to get better, and cope in healthy ways. Because if you cope in unhealthy ways, then are you actually coping? And we don't always realize this, but mental health slips very silently. We don't always realize when our mental health deteriorates, and we find ourselves in habitual patterns where we cannot get out of, and we use something unhealthy as a coping mechanism instead of dealing with what's going on right now and expressing it in a healthier, better way. We cope to survive instead of cope to thrive. And that's where your mistake is, because if you cope just to survive, you're going to be swimming that sea until one day you are going to eventually drown. And we can't combat serious long-term things with short-term feel-good now solutions, because it's just going to numb you and it's just going to take you away from the problem further, and you won't be able to deal with the things that are happening in your life. And we engage in such unhealthy coping mechanisms, and it could be anything. It could be a substance, it could be a behavior, it could be a habit, it could be anything that feels good right now but is actually very destructive in the long term. And as I said, sometimes we don't always realize that we're not coping. We think, oh, I'm doing okay, I'm doing okay, I'm doing okay, and then one day all of a sudden you're not okay. But it's not all of a sudden. It's these silent, gradual dips in mental health that we don't always notice. It's not like a physical pain when you scrape yourself, then you feel sore on your knee for a couple of days. No, it's something that's very quiet and very silent, and most of the time it slips without us even realizing it. That's why it's important to develop healthy coping mechanisms so that you can cope when that scrape comes, or one day you don't feel good anymore, and we don't always realize why we don't feel good. It's because we have been coping in such an unhealthy way that we end up coping just to keep our heads above water. But on the other hand, healthy coping mechanisms actually lead to better emotional regulation and better mental health, because you are able to express yourself in a safe and comfortable and healthy environment. And it's important that we do express ourselves. Have something for a mental detox, like drawing or coloring, or be creative, go paint, build something, make something. It's a good way to stimulate the mind in a healthy way and to put your emotions into something that is conducive and that is valuable. And we can gain better emotional regulation if we just look at how to cope in healthy ways. Coping to thrive is important for a healthy mind because it shows yourself that you are strong and that you can do it and that you can express yourself in healthy ways. And don't drown everything with unhealthy coping mechanisms. Don't numb yourself to the point where you become overwhelmed by all the problems in your life. Remember, coping is something we need to do every day. And if we don't have good coping skills, then we fall into unhealthy coping mechanisms. Because at the end of the day, it's not coping to survive, it's coping to thrive. So remember, you are unique and valuable. Take care of that beautiful person. Stay strong wherever you're from. You are worthy.